Well, it has come time for another video. Several themes have been running through my mind. One of them is redundancy, repetitiveness, and such like. Because I realize that everything always just sort of repeats. You say the same action, the same reaction, and as Bukowski said, so finally you get tired of life, right? You've already seen all the mutations, all the stuff that happens. But there's another way in which we keep the repetition going. Namely, we keep the repetition going via procreation, right? I just saw, I made the mistake of going outside and I saw this, guy in a frenzy. And he was screaming, you betrayed me, to this woman who was probably his love interest. And she was all upset. I could see it on her face. Right? Total crisis, total meltdown. And I just think, how many times do we have to see this over and over again? Right? How many times do we have to repeat the same action, the same reaction? It reminds me of a zoo. You have all these animals and they do their little dance. And you just think, well, how many times can you see the same trick performed before it gets dull? Apparently, we can keep it going for a long time. But, you know, it's just the sheer pointlessness of it all. What's the point of doing it over and over and over again? To be heartbroken, to go into death, to die of some disease, over and over and over and over again. Even the good things, like eating McDonald's or something, you don't really need to eat McDonald's if you're dead or if you've never been born. It doesn't really add anything. It clearly just there to keep you going. And so the whole thing is sort of revealed to be a bit of a scam. Like, what's the point? And the main thing is, for people like me, it's just so difficult. You can see it from my face, right? Yesterday, I went on a walk with my parents because they dragged me out. And my mom was all in a panic because it was raining a little bit, right? And I thought, you know, if that gets to you, you must have it pretty good, right? She was all in a panic. No, I don't want to get outside the car. I don't want to walk in the rain. But I realized that, there's so many people out there who have to walk outside the rain, so to speak. We don't have a choice. And they don't usually complain. For one, because nobody cares if they do. And also because they're used to it. So you think, damn, those people who are suffering must be really tough to deal with all that when an average person gets totally freaked out by something as small as the rain. That puts them out of commission. So these people who are suffering much more deeply than that, they must be tough sons of bitches. And they are. But it tells you just how unfair it is to have people who are so pained against people who are so not pained. And each time, each generation, the same bell curve repeats itself, right? The winners, the losers, the mediocre people, over and over and over again. And I just think, well, how many times does this structure have to repeat itself before we get tired of it and say, fuck that? Right? When I was a kid, we'd always read these stories that were all about poverty. Like everybody used to be poor, and we have a tradition of literature where everybody just talks about how miserable they are. Like I remember reading this story of a mother and her child, and the whole story was about them rummaging for little coins, right? Little, coins that were worth like 25 cents or whatever. Um, Something that would be like a shilling or something, right? And they don't find it. And, the mother just loses her shit and just cries and weeps. Oh God, we're so poor. And, the whole story is just about the crushing. I don't know what it was about other than just crushing poverty, you know? And, it occurred to me, well, why the fuck did you have kids then? I mean, you didn't have to do it. Right? So it just pissed me off that, these people with the stories, and obviously in reality too, I'm sure, always complained about how poor they were and how, they can't afford anything. But why the fuck did you have kids? These people who are poor as dirt and they still have 8 kids. You just think like, why is the human species so stupid? Like how can it not occur to them? And even to this day, that they're poor, they're uneducated, but they still need to have 4 kids. How can they not just think, well, I could not have all these problems if I just don't have kids. It's incredible, right? And slavery is similar too, like in the sense that, you know, um, people were stupid back then. That's why they had slavery. It's like, you know, it's kind of like, were they really that stupid? Um, they really couldn't be that stupid, right? I heard this point made by somebody that I don't want to mention the name of now, but he said, like, it's just, they were not that stupid, right? They knew that slavery was wrong. They just didn't care, right? So something similar probably is going on here, where, well, they know it's a bad idea. They know they can't afford anything. They do it anyway simply because they don't give a shit. They're born into a culture that just doesn't give a shit. Like I just came out of a fast food place that sold gyro. And family came in and there was like four kids. Right? So these people are kind of uneducated. Otherwise, they wouldn't have four kids because only uneducated people have this many kids usually. Um, these people are probably poor, pretty uneducated, and they still have four kids. It's like, why do you do it? What do you have to, like, if you actually set them down and interrogated them, like, what do you want? What are you hoping to achieve by spreading your shitty genes? I mean, how good do you think you are? You probably never even made college, right? You're not particularly handsome. You're not particularly smart. Right? You never really made it in life. You never became a lawyer or a banker or someone who makes a lot of money. Or a poet or a painter, right? A really sophisticated, smart individual, right? Um, or even just an effective individual, right? You're just kind of there. You do your little jobs, but you're really not much of anything, right? Um, what makes you think your genes are worth spreading? I mean, these people are so egotistic, right? They actually think their genes are worth spreading. But when you look at them, there's nothing there that's worth spreading at all. So for me, it's always just going back to this futility, or what the fuck the point is when you can't locate one. The same crap over and over and over again. You get bullied as a child. Then you get bullied again in your, so to speak, next life. Right? The next generation. The popular kids, the bullied kids, the rich ones, the poor ones, the ones who are winning and the ones who are losing. The same crap over and over again. Doesn't it drive you people insane? To say the same action, the same reaction all the time? How many times does it have to keep happening? There's a pain in my tooth. And I'm 25, so I've been having more medical issues. I more or less just ignore, or I can't fix, no matter how much I try. Um, and you just, it only gets worse, right? The body, it wears off. No, it like, I don't know what the term would be, but it just wears and tears, right? It decays. It only gets worse and worse and worse. Your memory gets worse, right? Your teeth get more rotten and brown, right? You look more and more like shit. You get knee pain, you get joint pain, and it just gets worse and worse. People around you die, and you just think, well, parents are usually, they become parents at like 25, 20, 30 years old. It's like, well, by that time you've seen enough of the world. Like by the time you're 25, 30 years old, you've seen enough of the world. And how can you still maintain the optimism that it's okay to, like, why would you want your kid to go to the dentist? You have any idea how terrible it is to go to the dentist? I mean, it sometimes hurts. For me, it hurts. Um, just why would you want to? What's the fucking point? Go to the dentist. Go to the doctor. Go to school. Go get a job. And they really just betray you, right? They really betray you because when you're little, they feed you the idea that everything is okay and magical. Santa Claus, a tooth fairy. Everything's gonna be okay. Everything's fun. The playground. But they betray you because as you get older and older and older, you realize, wait a minute, this is not what it's all. This is not what it's was chummed up to be. It's not all that. So the wear and tear begins. It wears away, decays, and you realize, well, and then the um, explanation you're given is, well, that's just life, right? Right? You get that. Hold on a second, you betrayed me. You said it was okay. You said everything was cool and fun, but now you betray me. Now I tell you, well, God, I really don't want to do this homework. It's pointless and it hurts, and you have to do it. Oh, shit. But you said it was gonna be fun. You get a disease. What do I do? Well, you're going to a doctor and maybe you'll get surgery. Holy shit, you said nothing about surgery. You betrayed me, you stupid fucking cunt. And in the background, they're working away at you, chipping away at you, one by one. So you look at the school system. I quickly figured out when I was like 12, 13 years old. I already knew it was bullshit. I remember questioning my mom, aren't you ashamed that you call somebody your boss? Right? There was a guy on YouTube at some point that I heard, and his main contention was always, aren't you ashamed to call somebody your boss? And that was for me, you know, the kind of pre-Marxist critique, right, that I already knew before I even knew about who Marx was or what communism was, right? I already knew. It wasn't so much about, the money they take or whatever. No, it was just subordinating yourself to a master and calling him boss. I already knew. Why the fuck would I want to do that? And I already knew that school was basically just that. It was just a way to butter you up, to groom you into adulthood, so you can go and get a job. And I already knew. I already figured it out before I even knew what surplus value was or any of that shit. I already knew, like, wait, I have to work so my boss can get a car? Hold on, that doesn't sound right. Like one time I was working as a security guard, the only official job I ever had for like 2 weeks. That I gave up, and my manager, right, the team lead of the security guards, told me that sometimes the boss comes through of this company that I was guarding, right? And sometimes the boss would come through, and he told me that he has a beautiful Tesla, right? And back then, Tesla was a huge thing. Nowadays, it's not so much, right? But back then, it was huge. And, I live in a relatively poor country comparatively to the US, right? So Tesla, huge. Especially, and I just thought, man, that's just so absurd. Some people are winners, some people are losers, right? While I had, 60-year-old, comrades there working that never made it. They didn't even have a car. One of them had a car. The other guy didn't even have a car. I don't have a car either. I never drove. I can't drive. I don't have a license anyway. And so it's just this innate feeling of like, ew. Some people are winners, some people are losers. Um, but that's not okay. Why should I accept that? Right? Why should I accept that as a good idea? And I felt this terrible pain um of just how abandoned you are, right? Society really just abandons you. That scared the shit out of me, right? That you're just there and you're not helped, right? You either make money or you starve, and everybody spits on you and everybody shits on you, pisses on you, and nobody cares. Like if I became homeless and I had no money, I would just be fucked, right? People would piss on me, almost. They would almost literally just piss on me. It's like, oh, this is the world we're living in? That we call civilization? You lose your job, you lose your life. Oh, fuck. And for me, I thought of like medical issues. Like, one time I was at the doctor, like a dentist, and a woman calls in, right? Patient calls in. Doctor goes, picks it up, and she make like the caller, like the patient says, like, "Oh, sorry, I couldn't make it. And the doctor sort of chews her out, like, what next time if I give you another, uh, you know, if I give you another appointment, you will come, right? Like, yes, yes, it's like, just, and I understand why she would be upset that she no-showed, but at the same time, this woman is working, like it's tough, right? And so so just this feeling of like, you know, just work just to be okay, more or less, like you go to the dentist, like it's not fun, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but you have to do it, right? And even that's an achievement, just to go and get your teeth checked or cleaned or whatever, just so you can go back to work. And if you can't do it because you're busy, you get chewed out, right? So it's like you're not winning anywhere. You're just losing, 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 losing. you know, so, so nothing good is happening there. Only something in between. Oh, okay, it's the weekend. And I know these critiques are so elementary, but at the same time they're so powerful, right? Like we need to go higher than this. Life just sucks. Society sucks. It's not a good thing. I don't care how many people enjoy it. The enjoyment doesn't make it okay, because it's still unfair, right? You don't deserve what you get. You just get it because of circumstance. It's wrong because it creates obscene inequality, suffering. Some people just get unlucky. Some people get picked on, bullied. They get cancer and die. Right? Another thing I noticed is like another thing I noticed is like that how much pain there is hidden in each person. Like when you go to the doctor and you get like a device, something that you have to put in. Like I'm supposed to put in some device on top of my teeth for some medical reason, but I don't want to do it because it's really uncomfortable. I don't like it, so I'm probably just not gonna do it. You know, um, I'm supposed to do these exercises. I'm not gonna do those either because frankly, I'm too depressed. I know I'm not gonna keep it up, right? All this, be healthy, I can't. I'm sorry, I'm too depressed. I don't care enough, Um, but you notice that people are walking around. You see them from the outside, they look normal, but when you peek in, you discover, oh, just so much pain. There's so much. Ooh, I have to have this shit, and I'm in debt, and my parents don't love me, and my kids don't love me, and I have type 2 diabetes, and you know they look normal on the outside, but on the inside, they're just total mess, right? And so who's winning here? Who's the people who are winning? And my problem with the people who are winning is that it doesn't make them better, right? Just because you're winning doesn't mean you're really winning. Because you're just winning at the expense of other people losing, right? Like, give me a sec. You see that? That's what I was given. And apparently it's because my teeth is like crooked. Like, it's not all the way up where it should be. I noticed I was getting lightheaded recently. And apparently it might be because of this. So I'm experimenting if I put it in my mouth. I was really uncomfortable. I don't think I'm gonna keep doing it. Am I still gonna get dizzy? Right. It get less dizzy than I might. But I was wondering if I have diabetes too, but I don't know. Because recently I was just getting lightheaded. Like if I talk too much, I just get lightheaded. So we'll see if this device does anything or doesn't do. I have no idea. But if I get lightheaded, it's gonna be tough. Tough to talk when you get lightheaded. So I'm gonna just keep this in. Um, but yeah, I was talking about. See, this is the problem, right? I was gonna talk about this too. That you have to get, you have to be kept alive artificially through these devious means. Or you have to put some plastic piece of shit, which by the way costs a lot of money. I didn't get this. You know, I don't know if public healthcare would have covered it. But I went to a private place and it costs a lot of money. Otherwise, you have to probably wait a long time, and it's one benefit is they treat you like a human being. If you're worried about healthcare being private, I still prefer private because in universal healthcare, the doctors just treat you like shit. They have that disadvantage. But here, your doctor is your, is they're basically a worker, and so they can't really fuck with you or do talk down to you because then you won't go there. And I like that, right? I know some of you are still fighting against capitalism, but for me, I'm sorry. I think I like it. I think I like having an option that's private and not having to be treated like shit by a doctor that's funded by the state who gets to do whatever they want. It's like you have no choice. You have to be there, right? It's really strange. It's really weird. I never understood that. And that's another reason to not fuck with life, to not fuck with society, is because I don't know if you've been to hospital, but many of the nurses are rude. That really shocked me. How could you be a nurse and be rude, right? That's like you get sick, and now you're at the mercy of these people who could be rude to you, who could fuck you up, who could misdiagnose you. Why would you fuck with that shit? That's how it shows you how, how higher people like us, I guess, are in terms of critical thinking, right? That these people really just don't care. They just don't give a shit. They don't know and they don't care. So they're lacking analytical intelligence and they also lack empathy. Because if they were not lacking empathy, they could figure out this is not a good situation to throw people in. And they're also lacking analytical intelligence. So they can't do the calculations of like, is this worth it? Is it really a good idea to dig a hole? Throw somebody in the hole? Is it really a good idea to throw somebody in the capitalist game? Well, I know I just praised it, but I also hate it, Um, where you could end up homeless. I mean, they can't even do that calculation. They can't even just get to that level. And that's the strange thing about being a parent, is that you basically disqualify yourself by just being a moron. You can't be a good parent because you're a moron. You thought it was a good idea to throw somebody into a stupid, dangerous game, right? You can't be a good parent. You always have to be a little fucked up when you're a parent. You have a little bit too much confidence in yourself, right? That's why parents are usually outgoing people, right? Parents don't usually suffer from anxiety, social anxiety or autism or whatever. They're always like the easygoing people. They're like, oh yeah, no accident because they're stupid. Right? So here you can even criticize, Darwinist theory of like the fittest are the ones who end up winning. The dumbest are the ones who end up winning. They are fit, but it's only by some really stupid standard of like, well, we fucked and we didn't care. If that's what you got fitness, fine. But it's a very stupid way of I think of dealing with the issue, right? It begs the question: the fittest, if you change the definition of fitness, is the most intelligent. The people who are not ready to sacrifice people to the altar of society, right? To the altar of society. What if the people who are the most fit are really the people who are too sensitive to play the game? They never have a voice. They can't say, hey, I'm right. Because by definition, they're the ones who don't succeed in life, who don't go anywhere in life. Their voices are not heard. By definition. I have to. Stuff is so fucking annoying. You can see me struggle live. Why not? It's real. I mean, you can't see it, but it's annoying. But I think I'm gonna get lightheaded. So you see, these are the problems people don't tell you about. Because they have too much self-respect. They have too much to lose, right? Nobody can know. It's nobody's. That's why they like to say it's nobody's business, right? They don't want to make their failures known to the world because it fucks with their status. And it fucks with this the sense of ego. Just an excuse, right? Privacy is always an excuse. It's always something you can throw up and say, I don't have to tell you anything. Well, I'm not saying you should, but if you want to be honest, you should. If you want to give an honest accounting of your life, which then contributes to knowledge, what it means to be human, then you should. You almost have. I think if you're a decent person, you might actually have an obligation to, to empty your closet and show us what's there. To contribute to the body of knowledge. But they say, no, I'm private. It's my private thing. I don't have to tell anybody about my fucking failures. Right? And here, this is why, I know this sounds fucked up, but I think you can even make a point, that's related to like consent. It's like, of course, you should have the right not to screw someone you don't want to screw, but it's also like, it's a convenient way of saying, well, we don't want the uglies and the weirdos, and it's just another way for us to push the undesirables away. And it probably is racist too. Like, well, I don't really fuck with black guys, but that's just a sexual option. I don't have to fuck him. That would be rape. I have to be forced to fuck him. But I'm not racist, even though I clearly prefer whites. You see, there's little things you're not allowed to say, you're not allowed to notice, and most people never would. But it's there, right? You can't deny it. It's like that observation. Of course, I still agree that you should get consent, but you get the point I'm trying to say, right? And it's also the point, it's similar to the point that I made before about, the laws that we have are always a self-tell, right? They always give out the game. So we say like, age of consent, 18, murder, illegal, stealing, illegal. What we're basically saying is that we're creeps and we're thieves and we're rapists and we're murderers. That's why we need to have these laws, because we know that we suck. And it's also an institutional thing, like, don't steal. Why? Because some people are poor, so they will steal. But why are they poor? Well, we're not going to discuss that. That has nothing to do with the law. Right? So the law is brilliant at pretending justice. Which always reduces everything to individual bits and pieces. Well, technically you did the murder. Technically you stole that dildo, the coffee machine. Well, yes, he did, but that's kind of your failure, because you failed to raise that person properly, to give them better opportunities, to give them healthcare, housing, psychological support. That's why he's out there stealing shit, because he's fucked in the head. It's like people steal, they're fucked in the head. Something wrong with them. That's why they don't have jobs. Something wrong with them, they're fucked in the head. 9 times out of 10, right? Unless you're like rich. Don't have jobs because they're mentally ill, drug addicted, autistic people don't get opportunities because they don't get treated nice, so they retreat. But they still expect you to make money. Like, I'm not gonna have a pension because I don't work. I have money. I have enough money to live on now, but I don't know I'm gonna have a pension because I don't work. But I can't, because to me the amount of pain, like for me the amount of pain that it imposes on me, right, is unbearable. And people can read my face I can't go to the doctor. Every time I go to the doctor, they can tell I'm, are you stressed? Why are you shaking? What's wrong with you? And then I have to tell, well, doc, I'm sort of autistic and anxious by default. So it shows on you. When I go to a bar or a disco, when I try to go, they see it on you, they smell it on you. You don't talk the way they talk. I've been called weird. I got nearly kicked out of a bar once because I didn't behave. I didn't understand the rules, how you were supposed to behave. I don't understand how other people do, and I'm just too soft, right? Like you really have to be tough. That's the there's one kind of observation that I've made that's really fundamental. That there's some people who are tough enough to deal with the world, and some people who are too soft. You can see it by just looking at them for 4 seconds. You look at an actor. An actor is a perfect example of this, because actors are always people who barely have any shame, right? Because they can just do whatever they want. They don't. It requires a stunning level of self-confidence to be an actor, to embarrass yourself in front of dozens of people, to scream out in the street where where people can still see you, but you're acting. Stunning level of self-confidence, and you can always see it by the way they carry themselves. They don't feel they fear. They basically have no anxiety at all. And then you have people like me who are like looking away, sweating, shaking even. These are two types of people in the world. The second ones will always lose. They have no chance. They can't make it. They're too soft. They're always going to suffer. They're always going to get rejected. Or if they're not rejected, they won't be able to take the limelight, the success. Other ones will always win. It's a huge difference. And I don't know if it's like such a fundamental difference. They should have a name. The people who can and the people who can't. Huge, humongous difference. Much more fundamental than race or gender. Everybody talks about that race, gender. The Jews are doing this. That's why the stupid conspiracy, right? One reason to reject all that division is because, of course, they're real in a way. But there's a much deeper division, which is something like what I just said. So this is why it really matters. Then you can say, oh, but maybe men on average are more likely, and then okay, you can play that game if you like. But on a fundamental level, it's all about, who is the one who can and who's the one who can't. Two types of people in the world. Very fundamental. I insist. People don't usually like dualisms. They're like, dualism bad? But everywhere I look, all I see is dualisms. They say don't look at the word black and white. Don't look at the word either or. But isn't that kind of the world? Like everything is either or. Like either a tree falls on you, or either a brick falls on your leg or doesn't. Either it breaks or it doesn't. Either you're lucky or unlucky, winner or loser. The victim or the criminal. Well, actually, you can be both, but you get the point. In any particular act, any particular state, you're one or the other, on or off. Anybody who tries to deny that is denying reality as such. Always the winner or the loser. Right? And there's nothing, like every time I talk, I just want to I almost want to just jump out of my own skin and somehow solve all these problems, but I know I can't. There's nothing I can do. I'm not popular enough. I'm not handsome enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not anything enough to solve these problems. So I'm just here. I'm talking, and nothing will happen. Probably just fall into obscurity and then die. And it's like, well, what the fuck was the point? This is something I want to talk about because I've been called, and you may recognize yourself if you're listening to this for some reason, that I've been called somebody who probably has genius. I've been called brilliant, and I've been called one of the most important intellectuals today. I'm not making that up. There was three separate people who have said these things separately. And I know that I'm very intelligent. I'm very bright. Maybe even a genius in many ways. I know, I'm sorry, it's just a fact. The way my mind works, the connections I can make, right? The way I can speak English. I never left I'm Hungarian, Show me one Hungarian who can talk English like this, who can speak English like this. You will find maybe 7, Like, I'm very, 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 very bright. I know that, and I'm not gonna pretend I'm not. Of course, in many other ways, I'm an idiot. But the point I want to make is not to butter myself or to glaze myself. It doesn't really do me much to say this stuff, Like, I don't get a boner out of it. I enjoy self-deprecation better. So if you think, oh, it doesn't really mean anything to me, I'm not, I'm not tickled pink because I say this stuff. Don't get it twisted. But I know I'm very bright. When I was in high school, my teacher recognized me as really bright. Many other people have. But what I want to say, it doesn't really matter, right? That's what people don't seem to get. That you can be a genius, or if you don't want to use that embarrassing term, just really intelligent or bright or whatever the fuck, special maybe, which is even worse. But so you can be all those things, but it can also mean nothing. That's what some of you don't seem to get, I guess, is that you think that if somebody is a genius or really smart or really talented or really special, it somehow means they will make it. No. Like, the word just goes on. You don't get any special treatment for it. Nothing. It's just chance. The universe doesn't care. The universe will kill you. The universe will torture you. The universe doesn't care. It doesn't foster my intelligence. I had to fight for it all the way up like a giant uphill battle. It doesn't care. Sometimes I can barely think because I can't sleep. I get insomnia. I get depressed. I doubt myself, right? Very severely. I mean, I get suicidally depressed. Pretty often I get huge mood jumps. And that's another issue is I used to go to the psychiatrist and I left again for it was my 3rd stint and I left again. And I was talking about, oh, I have ADHD, I have OCD. And I realized, well, I might do, but the funny thing is that you kind of make that happen on your own. Like, if you see yourself as having OCD, that's all you concentrate on, and it gets worse. Like, in some way, you make it happen. You know what I mean? Like, it really does. It really is true that if you see yourself as a patient, you really will become a patient. But if you see your mood jumps not as bipolar, which is something I probably have to an extent, if you see it as a feature, then you're not really sick. If you don't think about it, you're not really sick, right? So when I was going to I was really suicidally depressed for a while there. I never been more depressed than I was in the winter of the previous year. Yeah, it was really bad. I watched a lot of gore. I fucked myself up. I just couldn't stop thinking about like jumping off I was looking up like these buildings, like these condos, and just, oh, can I make it up there so I can jump down? But you know, and that's another sad thing is there's a really deep truth. There's a really deep truth in people who kill themselves, that they tell us something about the world. The messengers, they're here, they're telling us. You know, it's just so sad. They're screaming out, hey, this is not good, something is not right. They're very important people. But what do we do about it? Well, not much. But there's another absurd thing is how can we keep going knowing that other people don't? Right? That's one of my key points that I make is like, you could see this forest, this beautiful forest, as if it was a beautiful forest, but you could also see it as a place to hang yourself. And there's no difference between the two. It could be both. You make part of reality happen. It's true. It's not bullshit. It's true. You know? Very important thing. That's why I don't believe in objectivity. That's why I said before, maybe in two grotesque terms, that rationality doesn't exist. It doesn't in the sense that we're all just feeling creatures. It's the feelings that decide reality, not rationality. Rationality comes later. Right? That's what I call punching in and punching out, or the school paradox. That yes, you can build the bridge and that's objective, but the way you use the bridge is not objective. So any objectivity that you once had on you know, when you were on, you know, the blueprint, right? It's a blueprint where an architect drafts the structure of the bridge. Well, that's objective. It gets built, no longer objective because people will use it for different ends. They will jump off the bridge. They will use the bridge to commute. Some of them will blow up the bridge because they're terrorists. Some of them will, I don't know, paint the bridge and see it as an art. I don't know. You know, it's... And anyway, so the point is there's no objectivity, which I think is a great thing. That's good. I see nothing good about objectivity. I see nothing good about truth. Oh, look at the truth over there. What am I supposed to do with it? Lick it? I sometimes say that if it doesn't give you a blowjob, then what's the point of it, right? People don't want to accept that truth, that everything is subjective, that we're all just chasing the pleasure. They don't want to accept it. Oh, hedonism, that's stupid, wrong. There's the truth out there, the good out there. Nah, not really. There isn't anything like that. It's just fucking horniness and food and cheese and... Look at that girl over there. I love her. Well, I don't really love her. I just want to fuck her and you know, it's just... She could be any other girl as long as she gives me the feelings I need, right? I'm getting lightheaded again. Trying to be authentic about it. Maybe I should take a break. Yeah, I was just saying, like, saying that you can see yourself as a patient. Is that what I was saying? I don't fucking know. I lost the thread as I usually do. Yeah, you see yourself as a patient, and so you make part of reality. You make up yourself. Oh, I was talking about genius and how you can be one. That guy should. If I was dictator, that guy would be dead. Fucking just going too fast, too much noise. Fuck him in the ass. So yeah, you can be a genius. And I think there's a case to be made for me being one. As people have said. But you can also achieve absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. Like, people just can just ignore me. If I say something, oh, that's such an insight. The insight insect, that's such an insight. Oh God, insect. Such an insight. But you don't have to do anything with the insight. You can just ignore it. In fact, most people ignore it. So you can be a real genius, you can have 400 brilliantly argued points. And it can mean absolutely fucking nothing. People ignore it. The universe obviously doesn't give a shit. God doesn't care. God doesn't exist. If he did, he wouldn't be, because he was perfect, right? It's a very simple paradox. I've noticed that people don't seem to care about something is perfect. It doesn't exist anymore because it's done. Why does God persist if he's already has everything in himself? Now he can't persist. He'd be dead. I'd be dead if I knew I was perfect. What the fuck would I bother living anymore? You know, what do I need? A food job? That's another great critique that some people have made. That why do I want to go to heaven anyway? Like, what's the point of this shit? So I can sing lullabies to God? What's the fucking point? Again, if it doesn't give you a blowjob, what's the point? And that's the fundamental problem with life: is what is it supposed to give you that you don't already have? What's the point? Well, I don't have everything. There's an infinite number of things I don't have that I could have. I could be almost infinitely more handsome, infinitely richer, probably almost infinitely smarter, almost infinitely more knowledgeable. Give an infinite number of girlfriends, an infinite number of good things that have happened to me. And somehow this is all terrible because it's not. And if I have one, then I am good. Right? So it's all relative. It's all relative to what we think is good. So I have one girlfriend was considered good. But it's only because we usually only have one. So if you take away that last one, okay, who cares? Like, but you'll be sad if you, yeah, but I'm talking about going all the way to nothing. So you never wanna motivate oblivion as a choice. Because first of all, what the hell do you know about people? And what they want, or why they should live? It's another thing, my whole face is covered in scars. The quality is pretty good, so you can really see it. So I don't think that I got fucked with. I got acne. Really bad acne when I was a teenager. Just other shit. But yeah, I want to motivate oblivion. But at the same time, I can't pretend I think life is somehow brilliant, because I don't. I think it's kind of bullshit, Like McDonald's is a perfect example, because we always get McDonald's for me to get my fat ass out. They blackmail me with it, my parents, oh fuck, treat me like a child. But why do I need McDonald's other than because then it tastes good, but I don't really need it. I can live without McDonald's. I don't need it. So that's kind of what you get in the end is, well, you don't really need any of this stuff, right? But you also want to be positive, and the only positive message is, the way I see it, is to do something useful, and that's kind of depressing. But yeah, there's stuff to be done, there's work to be done. Namely, to be a good person. Whatever the fuck that even implies. But that's the work that has to be done. So that's the only positive message. I want to run out of space because this old piece of crap phone is so clogged. Only has about an hour of storage, but that's okay because I already talked enough. So that's the rent for this week, for this month. I don't know. It's just as bad as before. Not. It doesn't get better. I'm sorry. There's not gonna be a jump in quality or anything. There's nothing there. I don't know what else to say. There's no happy message. There's no. I don't know what to say. That could possibly help, right? Um, I don't really know how this reflection thing is possible, but okay, yeah. Um, Probably should end the video. Yeah, get some happiness. I mean, go home, do whatever fun shit there is to do, right? It's not all gloom and doom. Not all of it. You can have fun. Just avoid people, avoid going outside, and you'll probably have some fun. For me, at least, I just need to learn to stay inside, and I'll have fun. Yeah, so long. Adios.